Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be focused on my adventures in 2020. If you are one of these people that thinks anyone who went traveling at all in 2020 is highly irresponsible, you may not want to watch this video. It's probably not going to be for you unless you want to judge. But otherwise, this is about the journey I've made both physically and mentally during the year. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back. So, as I said in the brief intro, today's video is going to be about my journey in 2020. And everyone's journey has been a different one this year. Everyone has had some problems. You'd think even the super wealthy, I'm sure, have had problems this year. Even like Tom Hanks had corona. But it's not just about that kind of journey. But I did grow a lot this year, and I traveled a lot this year compared to how I normally do, which is kind of ironic for this year. So let me start by saying where I was at the beginning of 2020. So 2019 was a year of highs and lows. And I was having to deal with a lot of issues. Some of them brought on by myself, some of them brought on by other people. Certainly things I could have dealt with in a much better way. But I had a lot of good friends and a lot of support to take me through that. So at the beginning of 2020, I was starting to kind of come out of what I'd say was a slightly obsessive phase of mine. There were certain things I couldn't get out of my head. And actually, it was one of the reasons I started this channel as a distraction and kind of a self-therapy in a way. So at the start of 2020, I was trying to be very active. We had my friend Azaz. He came back from India to join us. I've mentioned him in a couple of other videos before. So the first sort of couple of weeks of the year were very much spent around Warsaw, taking him to different places around the city, trying my best. In January, it's a very difficult year to get people involved because those who are in school still have got exams. People are quite broke after Christmas, and the weather is very, very cold. So organizing any kind of activity at that time of year, it's tricky. But one thing, and the first part of the travel I did at this point was to go to Gdansk and Gdynia. So my friend Kasia organized the trip. So me, Azaz and her, we went down there, and it was my first time in this, particular region of Poland, and I have to say I loved it. I have done a whole video on this. I will probably do more videos about this place, but it's a wonderful kind of seaside area. I'm not going to call it a resort because it's not, but it's a wonderful place to visit in Poland. Also in January, I was doing a few other things. So as part of kind of working on myself, I was doing a lot of climbing. There are a lot of climbing walls in Poland, so I was trying out different ones each week. I had a group of people from the office who I was going with, And for me, it was, wonderful exercise, a great way to work some muscles that you would never otherwise use. And also the exercise itself was kind of therapeutic. So that was something I really enjoyed. I went out to the Villanov Palace, I think perhaps for the second or third time, and saw the light garden there, and a beautiful, beautiful display. If you're ever in Warsaw in the winter, I severely recommend you see this. My Warsaw at Night video covers a bit of what you will see there. And I also went to Campinos, and this is a kind of a big forest in the north of Warsaw. Maybe not the oldest forest in the world, but one that certainly has a kind of a deep history to it, especially during World War II, where a lot of people, like resistance fighters, were hiding in there, but sadly also a lot of people were kind of marched to there to be executed. I will probably do a whole video on that at some point, probably when the weather improves. February was the start of something really good for me, I would say. I met Agata. Okay, I say met. I reconnected with Agata, who was a girl I'd seen a couple of times before, but things hadn't quite worked out. And sadly, we're not together now. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you shouldn't really talk about your exes. Once you've broken up, you should move on. But because she was such kind of an integral part of my journey and of my year, I can't leave her out of a video like this. So we went on a few dates. We walked around Warsaw a lot. We went to the Warsaw Sky Bar, which offered some spectacular views of the city. It was a good time. A good time of life. We actually ended up going back to Gdansk for just a brief weekend. We ended up staying in a fabulous place that had no toilet door and basically no Wi-Fi. It's amazing what you can find cheap when you look closely enough. But we had a good time. Went around a few bars, had some lovely walks kind of by the sea. And yeah, so this was my second time in Gdansk, but honestly, I can always go back. That is never an issue. And of course, I believe it was February, actually, when I started this channel, or at least when I started to really focus on it. And this channel has actually been really fun for me. I've really enjoyed learning about video editing, and I love to learn more about Polish history. And to see the places I've seen, I'm really glad. It's helped to inspire me to see more and to learn more, and I think that can only be a good thing. March was a bit of a, let's just say, a bit of a mixed month because of something that happened. So at the very beginning of March, I was still with the Gasa in Gdansk, Gdynia and Sopot. Exploring those regions, going for lovely walks and so on. But later in the month, we went to Romania. And this was supposed to be like a long weekend kind of trip. Unfortunately, it was very, very badly timed. And it was very badly timed because literally the day that we flew out, the government announced that Poland was closing the border. So we couldn't get a flight back in time, so we knew we weren't able to get back to Poland yet. We were going to have some difficulties. So in the initial thing, we focused on enjoying the holiday, making sure that we didn't lose out on this trip that we'd gone on. And then we saw some wonderful places, Brasov in particular. I liked. We took a great forest walk. And we tried to get to this place called the Nine Ladders Canyon, and unfortunately, the Nine Ladders Canyon, once we walked the 2 hours to reach it, was closed. they hadn't opened it yet for the year, which they normally would have done if it wasn't for COVID. So that was one of my first encounters with how COVID can make your life a real pain in the ass. So we were stuck in Romania. We didn't know what to do. And we decided, you know what about going back to the UK? I suggested, because, you know, I had my family there. We'd have free accommodation there. It's somewhere we'd be safe. So we did that. We went back. Luckily, we had our work laptops with us, and we survived in the UK for about 3 weeks or so. And I'm kind of glad that I did go there when I did, because I haven't been able to really get back ever since, much to my family's dismay. But we did get back. In the end, we had some lovely times around Oxford, my hometown, and really tried to make the most of that trip. And when we finally came back to Poland, it was through one of the lot charter flights, which cost us like arm and a leg, I have to be honest. And it was a pain in the ass, because once we got back into Poland, we had to quarantine for 2 weeks. I had an app tracking my location. We had the police visiting on a daily basis. It wasn't the most fun trip, I will say that. And that was pretty much my March and a large part of April. So, of course, April was kind of a lockdown time for Poland, so we were a bit limited on what we could do. We took this lovely forest walk, through along the Warsaw River, the Wisła, up to Rumia, which is like a village in the north, and there was this wonderful lake that we went to. So that was, a lovely afternoon. Most of the day. Also, we went to Torun, which is one of my favorite places. It's a town absolutely steeped in history, some wonderful ruins, some wonderful architecture, great gingerbread. Sadly, when we were there, certain things like the museums and the bars and restaurants were closed, but we still managed to have a good time. And this kind of carried us over into May. So in May, we went to Bydgoszcz for the day. Wasn't the best experience. Again, everything was closed. We kind of found this place a bit weird. Sorry, people from there. I need to go back, and I need to get a better impression of your city. We had some trouble with the law when we decided to, have a beer, because you couldn't go to a bar, but we had a beer on a bench. And then not only did the police show up, but the army showed up, and then 3 more police vans showed up, and we were Bydgoszcz enemy number 1 for the day. Luckily, they kind of let us off with a slap on the wrist, and we were fine. And the moment I saw they saw I was English, they were like, right, we're not even going to try anything with this guy. So I guess it was like chatting away. And luckily, we were fine. It does put me off going back. But they're just doing their job, I guess. So what can I say? Now, Agasa had a really good idea that rather than being trapped in Warsaw, we were going to kind of work remotely for a set of time. So we went up to a place called Rumia in northern Poland, very near to Gdansk and Gdynia, in that area. And we used this as a staging ground. And Rumia itself, it was a very sort of quiet, very nice local place. It was quite nice to walk around some lovely forests, some interesting buildings, a bit of history there. We found a pub, which I've talked to one of the locals, and apparently isn't too popular, but we really enjoyed it, mainly for the view of this wonderful kind of pond in the middle of a park. So it was very picturesque, and we had a nice beer in the sun, and it was lovely. Anyway, so from Rumia, we actually went around to quite a few cities in the region. So we went to Wejherowo, we went to Hell, we went to Wladywawowo, Gdynia, Gdansk, Sopot, Ostroda. Did I miss anyone? I think that's all of the places we went to. I've done videos about each of these, and I can say every place I've been to in Poland has been unique, and this is one of the reasons I like to explore. So I can highly recommend traveling around Poland, and this idea of basing yourself in, one central location and then just seeing what's around was brilliant. And I want to do the same this year in the south. I'd like to stay in somewhere like Katowice, and I've been recommended through this channel a lot of kind of cities and things in the local area which are easy to get to by bus from there. I'd like to go back to Krakow because I need to make a video about that. I don't want to. Anyway, I'll talk about what I want to do later. But yes, so that was pretty much May taken up. We spent about 3 weeks there, 2-3 weeks, and used that time as best we could to see all these sites and enjoy what was open when it was open. The lockdown was kind of lifted halfway through our trip, which allowed us to go and drink, which was a real bonus, and to be able to eat out was again a real bonus, despite Agata constantly telling me off for don't spend money. But hey, I'm on a trip, I want to do something, right? This is life. June was my first haircut of the year. It was a very monumental moment for me. I'm one of these people that I wait way too long to get my hair cut, and I end up looking very, very different, and very, very unkempt, and then I get it cut and it's like, oh wow, you look so much younger or older, or however people choose to interpret it. But of course it was done wearing the mask during COVID times with somebody who didn't speak English. But it worked out quite well. I hope you'll agree. Okay, so June as well, it was quite a quiet month. We went to Park Skarszewski, I hope I pronounced that right, which is over in Prague. I still need to make the video for this, but it's a lovely park, red squirrels, lots of kind of ponds and green scenery. It was beautiful. Wonderful day in the sun. I went to Agata's parents' działka. So this is like a Polish getaway, often out in the forest. And again, beautiful scenery, lots of food, and lots of alcohol. And unfortunately, lots of Polish conversation, which I struggled to understand. Yeah, this is one of the objectives I had for 2020, which has not been as successful as I'd hoped. Oh, well, it's going to be something for next year. Okay, so this video has perhaps gone on a little bit too long. This often happens because I probably love to talk too much. So I'm going to split it into two. So please come back for part 2 if you're interested in seeing how the rest of my year unfolded. Thank you for watching.